Hi, it's Dot from dottotrot.com, and today I'm making a variation on a dish that my dad used to make when I was young, which was ground beef stuffed roasted peppers. And so the star of the show is, of course, these beautiful peppers that we're going to be using. It's lower in carb, by the way, if you just decide to go with just green peppers, but I like all the different colors, so, you know, it just makes it a little more prettier, I guess. Now, this particular dish, though, is definitely low carb, and it's definitely healthy, and it comes from a book that I've been reading for the last, I don't know, about the last week or so, and it's called The Complete Guide to Fasting by a doctor whose blog I follow. His name is Dr. Jason Fung, and he works with a lot of type 2 diabetic patients in helping them get rid of their insulin resistance, lose the weight, and end up basically curing their diabetes, provided they eat the way he shows them how to eat. And he's really big on fasting, and one of his things that he talks about is the fact that we're so focused on what to eat, we forget about there's also another key component, which is when to eat. So you may think it's odd that there's a recipe in a fasting book. There are great recipes, it looks like, in there. We're going to try this one. This one just looks and sounds yummy when you go through it. But it's a real interesting book, so if you're interested in just sort of learning about this, and especially like intermittent fasting, which has sort of become popular again now, it's a really good book to sort of take a look at. But I'm going to put this away so I don't get any food on it. And let me give you a rundown of the ingredients. Like I said, it's 4 peppers that you're going to stuff. I've got ground chicken. I got 3 eggs. I've got some cherry tomatoes. I use an assortment of colors because, again, I'm all about different colors. I got some chopped up garlic, a small onion, and I've got some seasonings of smoked paprika, black pepper, and pink Himalayan salt. I'm also going to add in, the recipe calls for just chili, ground chili. I actually am going to use my little chili recipe that I make that I use for my chili con queso or just regular chili. I still got a little bit left. I'm going to use a teaspoon of that in the recipe. So I'll do that in just a moment. What I'm going to do right now, though, is go ahead and start melting some butter. The oven's already preheated to 350, so I'm going to be raring to go. I'm going to be basically cooking the onions first with all the seasonings and the garlic in the skillet for about 5 to 7 minutes to soften up the onions, and then add in the tomatoes, get them nice and softened before I add in the chicken. So I'm going to start heading on over to the stove. All right, I got my butter melted. I'm going to add in my onion. Yay. The next is the garlic I'm going to add in. And then next is all of the seasonings. Just add it right in there, and then I'm going to swirl it around. What I'm going to do is basically, I have it on a medium heat, so I'm going to sweat the onions, get them nice and soft. I can't tell if they're going to be translucent. They would be if I didn't have all the seasoning in here. Right now I'm just going to go ahead, stir on occasion, and keep them in here for about 5 minutes or so, roughly. And then after that, we'll go ahead and add the tomatoes. So they look to be doing pretty good right now. Let me make sure I got them on a little bit. There you go. There's my medium heat. Want to make sure you don't burn them. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to check on them periodically. I'm going to head back to the table and start prepping my peppers as these are cooking. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start preparing the pepper. What I'm going to do, I'm going to cut off the stem. Just take my little kitchen shears and cut them off, and you want to try to get it as close to flat, because what you want to be able to do is you want that pepper to stand up like that. So that's why you want to get it flat. Then what I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to cut it in half. Now, there I got my half pepper. I got my little trash pail here. I'm going to go ahead and then just start taking out. You want to get rid of the pith, the white part essentially, and any seed. But you want to leave your pepper intact like that. So you don't want to create any holes. So you have to be a little bit delicate. So I'm just carving out a little bit of the pith. Just digging it out. There, and I can just go ahead and pull them out. So I'm basically creating more room for the meat to be in there. So I'm gonna put it, you want a baking tray, and you just put some parchment paper on. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of the peppers and also go check on my onions, and I'll be right back. All right, I added in my cherry tomatoes, and you can see they're awfully soft, which means it's time to add in the chicken. Now I will say with the cherry tomatoes, I cut them in half, but on some of the bigger ones, I quartered them. Again, which is fine, not a big deal, something you can do. Or you can leave them in half, it's up to you. I'm gonna go ahead and add in the chicken, the ground chicken, and then I'm gonna mix everything together. And what you're gonna do is you're basically cooking the chicken, you're gonna brown it. And what I'm just trying to do is get it all mixed in. I want all of the pink of the chicken sort of coat it with the seasonings and the onions and the tomatoes. So I'm going to go ahead, I don't want to overwork it either, but I'm going to go ahead and finish up the peppers while this cooks, and I'll be coming back here on occasion to stir to make sure nothing's burning, to mix it up, and also to break it apart, because once it starts cooking, it starts coming together as big chunks of meat, and I want to break it apart as much as possible. I want it to be as crumbly as possible to go into that pepper. All right, the chicken is cooked. It is all the way through. It's a little juicy because the chicken released some of its water it was holding. What I'm going to do is go ahead and put it in this little bowl, big bowl, I guess. And just before I stuff, I'm going to do one more thing, which is the 3 eggs I had. I've already beaten the eggs, as you can see right there. I'm then going to take the eggs, give them one more little beating, quick little stir. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly add the eggs into the container. That right in there. And then I'm going to stir it all up. I'm just letting some of the heat escape, actually, because I don't want it to cook my eggs. And what the eggs will do is that it'll help keep the mixture together when it goes inside. And it also adds fat. That is much needed, since chicken breast, which is what this is, the ground meat is made out of, doesn't have a whole lot of fat to it. And when you're low carb, you're high fat, so you want to add fat to it. So here we go. I'm slowly adding the egg in. It keeps it nice and moist too when it's cooking, because you don't want to overcook, as chicken can dry out fairly quickly. Oops. There we go. Let me get that. And I'm just going to go ahead and finish mixing. That looks good. Now what I'm going to do is start stuffing these peppers. I'll put that out of the way. And it smells delicious as I go. Let me go ahead and get this spoon out of here. This is going to go into my sink. All right, so you just take a spoon and you just put your mixture in, and you're just going to stuff it. I don't like to pack it because your peppers sort of dictate how much you're going to have in here. So I have to get it at least on top. If any extra, then I'll go ahead and pack it a little bit more. I'm using about a pound of ground beef, or excuse me, a pound of chicken for this recipe. And it serves 4 people, so a serving size is 2 pepper slices, two halves, or a whole pepper. So with this, when you have peppers this size, I probably should have went, since the first time I'm making this, I probably should have went with a pound and a half of chicken because of the size of my peppers. But that's okay. It's still going to taste good. Or another thing you can do is actually maybe add in a little bit more. I thought about adding in some mushrooms, but I just didn't have, I was worried I would overstuff the peppers. Obviously that's not going to happen since I got such big peppers here. And certainly you can add cheese to this. And the nice thing is you don't even have to use chicken. You could use sausage, you could use ground beef, You could use ground pork. So whatever you'd like to use, go ahead and use it. All right, I'm going to add a little bit of the remaining juice into some of these. I don't want them being too dry. All right. Now, these are going to go in the oven. They smell so good. They're going to go in the oven for about 30 minutes. What you want is you want the peppers to soften. Get really, really nice and soft before they're ready to go. Everything on the inside's already been cooked except for the egg. The egg is going to set a little bit, but again, it's going to add nice fat to this dish, as well as keeping everything together and moist. But again, you're cooking until the peppers are all soft. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these in the oven, and we should have deliciousness in about 30 minutes. All right, peppers out of the oven. They smell delicious. The egg you can see in spots where they're all set. My mouth is starting to water, which is not very good. I don't want to drool on these. They definitely look delicious too. I would say, since this is the first time I made these, I probably would increase my the amount of meat I used in this. Maybe up to, instead of just a pound, I'd probably use 1.5 pounds. Or the other option is by adding possibly some mushrooms, again, good for moisture, and maybe even topping with cheese. That does sound delicious, and maybe I'm getting really hungry now smelling this and talking about it. But anyway, hopefully you like this dish and you give it a try. Hit thumbs up. Also, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you go ahead and actually try the recipe, ping me back, let me know and how it worked out for you. Again, the description below will have all the ingredients and my recommendations in case you have some bigger peppers than normal. But until I'll see you again next time.